So I want you to be now super uncomfortable and watch this video of an interaction between him and none other than Diddy. Take a listen.
Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
He signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go.
You're about to see something that might completely change the way you look at one of the biggest pop stars in the world, because buried in an old clip is a moment so unsettling, so casually disturbing, that people are only now starting to ask the real question: what actually happened during Justin Bieber's infamous 48 hours with Diddy, and why did no one question it back then? Because once you hear it with fresh ears, it doesn't sound funny anymore, it doesn't feel harmless anymore, it feels like something much deeper was hiding in plain sight, something people ignored.
Fool crazy.
Going crazy.
So young Justin Bieber, who was signed by Usher, involved with Scooter Braun, now all of a sudden he's being put in the hands of Diddy, who, it is true, he became the legal guardian for Usher. You can look up all of the allegations of what Diddy did to Usher. A lot of this coming out via multiple lawsuits that essentially, if we were to put it in a nice context, or at least use a euphemism for something that's really disgusting, the allegations are essentially that Diddy very much initiated Usher into Hollywood.
The moment Candace Owens started talking about Justin Bieber and Diddy, you could tell this wasn't going to be a calm discussion. She didn't ease into it, she didn't hold back, and she definitely didn't try to soften her words. Right from the start, she made it clear.
Something people dismissed, and now that everything is resurfacing, it's starting to look like a piece of a much bigger and darker puzzle. It starts off almost like a joke, a light playful moment on camera where everything seems normal, Diddy smiling, Justin young and impressionable, barely a teenager trying to navigate fame, but then the tone suddenly shifts. Diddy openly says Justin is about to spend 48 hours with him doing things they can't really disclose, and just like that what should have been harmless suddenly feels off, way off. Because why would something like that need to be hidden? Why say it like that, and why did nobody question it at the time when it was said so casually in front of everyone watching? Think about it, this wasn't just any kid, this was a 15-year-old Justin Bieber at the peak of his early fame, signed under Usher, guided by Scooter Braun, surrounded by industry giants who were supposed to protect him, yet somehow in the middle of all that he ends up being handed over to one of the most powerful figures in the music industry, and not just for a meeting or a performance, but for 48 hours of undisclosed activities. And when you really stop and process that, it starts to raise serious questions about what kind of environment he was actually placed in. And here's where things get even more uncomfortable, because Diddy didn't just casually mention hanging out. He used the word custody, saying he had custody of Justin for those 48 hours, and then he referenced how he once had legal guardianship over Usher during his early career, and suddenly this stops sounding like a random moment and starts to look like a pattern. A repeated dynamic where young artists are placed under the control of powerful figures. And the more you think about it, the harder it becomes to ignore how strange that really sounds. Because when you connect the dots, the story gets darker. Over the years there have been allegations, whispers, and lawsuits that hint at what really happens behind the scenes in the industry, stories about young artists being initiated into Hollywood in ways that are never fully explained publicly, and while much of it was dismissed before, people are now revisiting these claims with a completely different perspective. Especially when clips like this resurface and start to align with those long-ignored accusations. Then comes Candace Owens, and the moment she brings this up, you can instantly tell this isn't going to be a calm or neutral discussion. She doesn't ease into it, she doesn't soften her words, instead she directly calls out what she believes was a complete failure of the people responsible for Justin, arguing that what happened wasn't just uncomfortable but deeply concerning. And according to her, this moment represents something much bigger than just one interaction, it reflects a system that allowed it to happen. She frames it as a glimpse into how the industry really operates behind closed doors, where young talent is often placed into situations they don't fully understand, surrounded by people with power, influence, and control, and when you listen to her perspective, that old clip stops feeling like entertainment and starts to feel like evidence of a culture that many insiders have hinted at but few have openly exposed, making people question how much of this has been normalized over the years. What makes all of this even more chilling is how normal it seemed back then. There was no outrage, no major headlines, no widespread concern, just another celebrity moment that people laughed off and moved on from. But now, with everything else coming to light, people are going back and asking how something like this was ever considered okay, and why no one stepped in or even asked basic questions about what was really going on behind the scenes. And when you look at Justin Bieber's journey over the years, the emotional struggles, the sudden changes in behavior, the moments where he seemed visibly overwhelmed or distant, fans have started connecting those dots too, wondering if there were experiences in his early career that shaped everything that came after. Experiences he never fully spoke about but may have hinted at in subtle ways through interviews and actions that didn't quite add up at the time. So now the real question isn't just about that one clip or those 48 hours, it's about everything surrounding it, everything that wasn't said, everything that was brushed aside, and whether this was just the tip of something much deeper. Because if something like this could happen so openly without anyone questioning it, then what else has been happening behind the scenes all along, and more importantly, who else knows the truth but still isn't speaking?